I've been reading since I was 3 years old, which means that I have been reading for 20 years. Granted, not everything I was reading at 3 years old was like the great American novel. However, it's been a long time, but in the past year and a half, I feel like I've really remembered why I love reading and fallen in love with it all over again. I've kind of hit my stride. So today I'm going to be tier ranking the 35 books that I've read in the past year and a half that I feel like have turned me from a casual reader to an avid reader. Shout out to Phil Got Books and Ian Gabelli for this video idea. Let's get into it. Let's really quickly go over the categories to explain what they are. So in our S tier, we have I Laughed, I Cried, I Believe in Life and Love Again. That's pretty self-explanatory. These are like the 6-star books. These are books that I think everybody should read at least once in their life, and I have become a better person for having read them. Next is Very Good, Would Recommend. These are like 4 to 5-star books. It doesn't have to be my all-time favorite, but I would generally recommend these to most people. It's overall a very good book. Then we've got Not Too Shabby. This is what it sounds like. It's kind of meh. It's not too good, it's not too bad. If you like just a nice light read, you'll probably be okay with this. If you are a lover of incredible prose, probably not going to be your favorite, but that doesn't mean it's a bad book. I still enjoyed these books. Then we've got This Felt Like a Disservice to Literature. It is what it sounds like. I'm not going to be recommending these books to anybody anytime soon. They weren't my least favorite, but they're nothing to write home about. Lastly, there is the Put It in Rice category, or They Made Me Want to Wash My Eyes Out. I believe that the world would be better without these books in it. These books shaped me into the person that I am today in a bad way. In the wrong way. I feel like the highest praise a book can receive is when people say what I would give to read this book for the first time again. That is the exact opposite of how I feel about these books. What I wouldn't give to have never read these books. I want these erased from my mind. I never want to think about them or see them ever again. It's harsh, but it's true. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna lie, I already filmed this whole thing one time and then realized that the audio was messed up. So I'm not here to waste your time or my time. My phone's about to die, my mic's about to die. So let's get into it. Okay, first up, a pretty polarizing pick, Just Friends by Haley Pham. If you've been on BookTube any amount of time, you know who Haley Pham is. She just released her debut novel. It is a second chance romance about main characters Blair and Declan. I keep looking over here because it's a window and I want to look outside, but I'm gonna lock in on you guys as I look away again. Okay. Blair moves back to her hometown, oceanside town of Seabrook. She runs into Declan, who was her boyfriend in high school. They haven't spoken in 4 years, and you're trying to figure out why. It's a dual timeline, so you see them falling in love in high school and now. I was pleasantly surprised because this book is a lot more nuanced than I'm seeing people give it credit for. This book talks a lot about grief, and the main character is struggling through a recent death in her family, and Haley actually handles this topic with a lot of grace, I felt. I don't love romance novels to begin with, so I'm gonna give this a not too shabby. I say read it if you like cozy romances. Next we have Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. Okay, I think I'm gonna talk about The Lightning Thief first and then The Sea of Monsters. Yes, Percy Jackson is a children's book, but on this channel we don't discriminate. I believe that every book that holds value for children also holds value for adults. This is like a 3rd generation story. We're talking about the Harry Potters of the world, the Lord of the Rings of the world, the Avatar The Last Airbenders. These are stories that any generation can enjoy, and these books are no exception. I'm gonna say The Lightning Thief is 5 stars. This is my favorite childhood series, and I just started rereading it. It's about a boy named Percy Jackson, shocker, who finds out that he is a half-blood, meaning he's half god, half human, and he's sent to this camp where he finds out that he is a powerful hero and he has to try, along with his friends who are also half-bloods, to save the world. I'm gonna say Lightning Thief is I Laughed, I Cried, I Believe in Life and Love Again, and Sea of Monsters is Very Good, Would Recommend. I would highly recommend everyone read this series. Next up we got Dracula. I think this was actually the first true gothic horror book I ever read. I read it for a class. I liked this book a lot. It's about a guy who goes on a business trip and ends up getting stranded or stuck in Dracula's castle, and he has to find a way out and find a way to kill Dracula. I liked it a lot. I would recommend that people read it just because it is a classic, but the ending felt really flat for me. They were building up to this huge climax the entire novel, and it just wasn't very good. It didn't feel satisfying as a conclusion. So I'm gonna put this in not too shabby. Bookshops Bonedust by Travis Baldree. You've probably heard of Legends and Lattes. This is a prequel to that book. It's a cozy fantasy, basically an orc who gets injured in the midst of a battle, ends up getting stranded in this seaside town as she recovers, and she discovers a little bookshop, starts to love books. It's just a cozy, feel-good book. I liked it a lot. I would say it's not too shabby. The Professor's House by Willa Cather. This book is about what it sounds like. It's a professor who is staying in his home for the summer working on some research. Basically, he's reminiscing on this house, what it means for him to have done research, long lost friends that helped him get to where he is. Basically, nothing happens, and I didn't like that. Sometimes I like when nothing happens, but I prefer my books with at least a little bit of plot. The ending of this book, I will say, randomly kind of redeemed it. It was the most accurate portrayal of depression that I've probably ever read in a book, but I'm still gonna give it. This felt like a bit of a disservice to literature. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. I didn't love it. The Summer of Broken Rules. This is actually the most recent book I read for a video that I'm doing on summer romance novels. I thought this was cute. This book is about a girl who just recently lost her sister, and she's taking a trip with her family. They take a yearly trip to Martha's Vineyard and play a game of assassin. That's it. So it takes place in 1 week. Her cousin is getting married as well, so there's like wedding preparation going on, and she starts to fall for this groomsman. And I don't know, I just kind of liked it. I liked it. It was like fun summer. The premise was very interesting. 1 week forced proximity. Andrew getting prepared for a wedding while there's a game of assassin. I liked it. It was cute. I'm gonna put it in the not too shabby category. Next is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This book is about a woman in the early 1900s, a black woman who, at the very beginning of the book, she's coming back home to her hometown where she kind of left immediately after marrying a man. And it's told in a frame narrative where the day she returns, she tells her best friend basically the story of her life and this love affair with the man she married and the loves that she's had before him. I appreciate the book for what it is as a staple of Black literature in the Harlem Renaissance, but I didn't personally love it. I thought the storytelling could have been a bit better. No shade to Zora Neale Hurston. I'm gonna put this in the not too shabby category. Next is Girl on Girl, How Pop Culture Turned a Generation of Women Against Themselves. I have to squint to see this. Okay, yes, that is the title. I listened to this as an audiobook. I didn't love it. I thought it was going to be about how pop culture and media makes girls feel insufficient, so they kind of turn against each other. But it was really just about voyeurism and the public gaze of females, how they're perceived as sex objects. It was interesting, it's just not what I was expecting. And I also think that structurally, it was a mess. Every chapter focused on something different, but it wasn't in a coherent way. I feel like I didn't gain much from this book, even as a woman who was interested in the topic. I'm gonna say this felt like a disservice to literature. Okay, next, The Wedding People. This was very popular in the past year or so. I thought this book was hilarious, and I don't think books are usually that funny, but this one specifically, the dialogue is the most realistic dialogue I've ever read in a book, which I feel like is something that's typically harder for authors to do. I was listening to the audiobook at points, like walking on my campus, and I would just start dying laughing. No book has ever made me do that before. It follows this girl who's down on her luck. She's recently separated from her husband, and she's planning to unalive herself. So she goes to a fancy hotel for like one more day to splurge before she, Once she gets there, she realizes there's a huge wedding going on, and she's the only guest not there for the wedding. And she ends up getting swept up in the activities, and the bride and her become confidants. It's actually really, it's nice. I liked this book a lot. I'm gonna give this a very good would recommend. Next is Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day. This is one of the best books I read in the past year and a half. Genuinely, it's about a butler who his previous boss dies. He's British, but an American man takes over the estate that he's over. He basically goes on a vacation for a few days under the new management, and it's just him reminiscing on his life. He's been a butler his entire life. He's reminiscing on what duty is, what it means to be a butler, and to do your job well. Whether him having lived his whole life in service of another person has made him a good person at his job, or if it's taken away from his life and made him miss out on important things. And you don't get a straight answer. It's just an exploration of his life and his thought process through that. And I really, really loved this book for that. So I'm going to give this an I laughed, I cried, I believe in life and love again. I have thought about this book often since reading it. I still think about it often. It's really good. Everyone should read this book. Next is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a retelling of the story of Circe from the Odyssey. She is a witch who is famous for turning men into pigs. And this book champions Circe not as a villain in Odysseus' story, but the hero of her own story. It gives voice to a woman who has been marginalized in mythology. Obviously, it's a mythological retelling, but I really liked it. I thought it was really good. She's immortal, so it spans eons of her life and just her loneliness and sadness and why she makes the decisions that she does. I thought that the prose was a little stilted. It kind of felt like a little bit gimmicky and these really short sentences, like she was trying to manufacture the character of Circe rather than letting her story speak for itself. I'm no writer, so maybe that's just a nitpick, but I would say this is very good, would recommend. I'd still recommend this to anybody getting back into reading. Next is Isn't It Obvious? This was a romance that I randomly found on Goodreads. It's basically like a You've Got Mail situation. It's a high school librarian who has a podcast about pop culture and literature, and her podcast starts blowing up, so she hires an editor online. At the same time, a man starts volunteering at this book club that she runs at the high school she works at. And they may or may not be the same person, you know, but she doesn't know that, and so she really is starting to flirt with the guy that's her editor, but she also hates the guy that's in the book club with her, so it's kind of a whole thing. The romance was okay, it was kind of cutesy, the plot, the writing was not, so I'm gonna give this I'm gonna give it a not too shabby. No, I'm gonna give it a this felt like a disservice to literature. Sometimes I wonder how these romances get published with such little editing. I feel like that's the main problem I see with romances. If they just had some more time or better editors, they would probably be actually quite good, and I would probably like the genre. Gotta take a break. Gotta take a coffee break. Goodness. Okay, next is Color Television by Danny Senza. No, next is Color Television by Danzy Senna. This is probably one of the worst books I have ever read. Danzy Senna, I have heard her name many times, praised as like a prominent biracial writer who writes about the biracial experience. I am Puerto Rican. Both my parents were born in Puerto Rico. I don't know what it's like to be biracial, and I want to be upfront about that. But a lot of people are praising this as a satire and dark humor, and it just went right over my head. Maybe I was not smart enough to understand this book, but it just felt like a woman complaining about her life the entire time. I don't even want to give a plot synopsis. It's about a professor. She tries to write a book. It fails, and so she steals her friend's TV idea and tries to get a show started. I don't know. Put it in rice. It made me want to wash my eyes out, and every time I think about it, it still does. The House on Mango Street. I have had such a torrid love affair with this book. The first time I wrote it, I thought that it was horrible because it perpetuated harmful stereotypes about Latin American men. I still think that's true, but I think this book does an important job of representing what it feels like to be a Latin American in America. The story is told in vignettes from the main character Esperanza's point of view as she grows up from, I think, probably around like ages 10 to 12 in an underprivileged neighborhood in Chicago to Mexican parents. And so it explores what it is like to have one foot in multiple cultures. And it explores how she deals with this and the disillusionment she faces dealing with internalized racism of the people around her and her own internalized racism, and also the environment that she's in not serving her. It's interesting, it's complex. I do still think that it perpetuates some harmful stereotypes, but I think everyone should read this. I'm going to say it's very good, would recommend. Next is The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I did not think I was going to like this book, but I actually really liked it. I read it for a class. It is about Newland Archer, who is a lawyer in, I think, late 1800s New York, the upper echelon of New York society. He is engaged to a woman that he thinks he loves, and then he starts to fall in love with her cousin. It's really a social commentary on this upper echelon of New York back in the day. They wanted everyone to be perceived as innocent and upstanding citizens, but they're just not, and scandals happen. Even though it's following a man's point of view about two women, it's a very feminist novel. It subverts expectations, and it's very ironic. I really liked it a lot. I would say this is very good, would recommend. Pudd'nhead Wilson, more like put it in rice, okay? I don't want to ever read this again. This felt like Mark Twain's excuse to say the N-word like a million times. Just racial slurs every page. It's about a slave who switches her white passing baby with the baby of her slave master, but her black child thinks that he's white, so he basically mistreats her and grows to hate her because he just sees her as his slave that he shouldn't care about. I don't know, I hated it. It was horrible. Put it in rice. Next, however, is A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and that book I did quite like, by Mark Twain. I'm not in support of him as a person, but I love this book. It's about a guy who wakes up in King Arthur's court. He's like an American guy from the 1800s, and he just wakes up in whatever century England. He's like, this is so stupid, everyone's doing things so inefficiently, so he tries to bring like 1800s American science and language into this world that is just not suited for it. He's basically trying to take over the kingdom. It's great, it's hilarious. This guy is like top 5 a-holes of all time. He's up there with Tony Stark. It's really good. That's going in very good, would recommend. Next is Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. This is a staple in colonial literature, but it's not a staple that I liked. This book is praised for trying to bring humanity to indigenous people in literature and trying to depict their experiences in a raw and real way, but I think it's just an excuse to be more racist. Maybe for the time this was revolutionary, but as somebody who is a minority, it just did not sit right with me. It's still perpetuating a lot of the harmful stereotypes, maybe even more so, that existed at this time. I didn't like it. It was not very good. Next is The Man Who Was Thursday. This is by G.K. Chesterton. This feels like a detective novel about an undercover detective who is trying to uncover a fascist regime. I just didn't get it. I didn't like it. I didn't get it. I would say this felt like a disservice to literature, just because I didn't understand it. Maybe I'm the disservice to literature. The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. This book is a Christian book. C.S. Lewis is a Christian author. He's the one who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, but this book is not explicitly Christian. It basically imagines if when people died, instead of going straight up or straight down, they took a bus ride to hell, got dropped off there, and they could decide whether or not they wanted to go to heaven. It basically embodies the phrase, hell is other people. I thought that was a really interesting premise. I think it's really well done. Not everyone will like this book, but I liked it a lot. I think it was a 4-star for me. So I'm going to say very good, would recommend. Ace of Spades. What a wild ride this was. I think this is this author's debut novel. It is about 2 black kids in a predominantly white high school, which is like the preppiest, best high school there is in this area. One main character is a girl whose father is like Italian old money. She's rich, like she belongs at this school. The other is a guy who is from an underprivileged neighborhood and he's there on scholarship. They have never talked before, but then some weird things start happening and they have to become friends and band together to figure out what's going on with the school and why they're being so weird. This book was like laced. I don't know. I just kept turning the pages and turning the pages. I like this a lot. Twelfth Knight by Alexine Farrell-Fulmuth, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. This is Olivia Blake. She writes under her real name for YA romance. I read this a while ago. It's a retelling of, you guessed it, Shakespeare's Twelfth Knight. The female main character loves to play a video game, and she hates how women are treated poorly in society, because don't we all? She uses a male username so that players won't treat her differently, and the male main character is a football player who gets a career-ending injury, and so he starts playing this game to cope with that while he's in bed recovering, and he becomes friends with this girl thinking that she's a guy. They form a friendship, but they also go to the same school, and at the school they cannot stand each other. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I liked the romance. It is not the next great American novel, so I'm gonna give this a not too shabby. Next is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I spent a lot of time with this book. I wrote my senior capstone in undergrad, basically like my final thesis project on this book. And this book looks at the Black experience in 1940s America, Eurocentric beauty standards, and internalized racism. I think this book is very important. It follows our main character, who is a young girl named Peccola, and she is navigating what it's like to be a young Black girl in the Midwest in the 1940s. Which is not an easy experience. It looks at how those things eventually drive her to madness, even as a young child. It's heartbreaking in the best way possible. Toni Morrison is an incredible writer. Her prose is impeccable. This is not my favorite book because it's not a very hopeful book, and I do prefer that my books have hope. You might disagree with me, and feel free to disagree with me. I'm fine with that. I welcome that, but this is still a very good, would recommend. Okay, next is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a short, sweet book. Not sweet, actually. I don't know why I said that. If you know what the phrase Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde means, you know what the crucial plot twist of this book is, and for that reason, the reading experience was ruined for me. It's like watching Star Wars when you already know that blank is blank's blank. Like, you already know. The major twist has been spoiled for you. Did I like this book? Yes. But since the plot twist was spoiled, I just couldn't enjoy it. For that reason, I'm going to give it a not too shabby. Okay, we're in the home stretch here. Frankenstein is an incredible book. It's essential gothic reading, essential horror reading. I would say this is essential reading for all of life. I think everyone should read this book. Mary Shelley hit it out of the park with this one. She was a one-hit wonder, and that's okay with me. If you don't know what Frankenstein's about, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you meandered your way over to this channel, but I'm happy that you're here, and I hope that you read it. Frankenstein is about Victor Frankenstein, who is a scientist who becomes obsessed with trying to reanimate the dead. He successfully does it on a creature, Frankenstein's monster, but he's immediately disgusted with his creation and he runs away from it. And this book explores what it means to be human, what it means to be a monster, what it means to be abandoned and fatherless. And it forces the reader to ask the question, what if I'm the monster? What if I'm reading these books looking for a monster story to make me feel better about myself, and the whole time I'm the monster? It's really beautifully written. It is heartfelt and heart-wrenching. I laughed, I cried, and I believed in life and love again after I read this book. Next is The Princess and Curdie. I read this book, I couldn't even tell you what it was about. I think this guy goes on a quest to save someone. I literally don't even remember what it was about. It was so bad. I feel like every time I opened it up, I was confused and I started falling asleep. Next is 3 Simple Rules, a Wesleyan Way of Living. I actually have this right here. You guys are balancing on top of a stack of books. This is a Christian book. It's short and sweet. It does not take long to read whatsoever. I think I read it in like 20-minute increments over 3 days. It is about what it sounds like. 3 simple rules for living a Christian life on how to love the Lord and others well and authentically. I feel like there are a lot of books that talk about this topic and make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. This made it really simple. I've come back to these lessons and these rules in my day-to-day life. So if you're a Christian, I would definitely recommend check this out. Next is Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. I have absolutely no notes on this book. It is a retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche. Basically, it is told from Psyche's sister's perspective. Orual, I think is her name. Orual. Her sister marries a god and is given this huge palace, but Orual can't see the palace. So she does desperate things to try and win her sister back from who she thinks is a crazed man who's going to hurt her. It examines love and the ways that love can be harmful. Sometimes we love people so much that we don't want to let them go, and that can be more harmful than it is good sometimes. I thought this was a brilliant book. I have absolutely no notes. I laughed, I cried, and I believed in life and love again. And more importantly, I took something away from it for my own life. And that is all we can hope for when we read. Next up we have Lilith by George MacDonald. This book is about a guy who finds a portal in his library to another world. He goes on a crazy adventure. He learns something, but I don't know what that thing is because this book did not invest me enough for me to care. I skimmed through this for class, to be honest. I don't even know if I could say that I read this. Yeah, this is gonna have to go straight into Put It in Rice. Next is O Pioneers by Willa Cather. This book is about a fierce young woman in the 1800s whose father dies. She is basically left in charge of her family's farm, and she transforms her farm into a very lucrative business for her and her family. And it's a very feminist novel, so although I didn't love Willa Cather's The Professor's House, I liked this book a little bit more. I'm torn between Not Too Shabby and it felt like a disservice to literature. It's gonna have been a little disservice to literature. Next, we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I already tier ranked the prequel, but if you like cozy fantasy, they're basically very similar books. This one is about the same orc, and she is retired from her battles, so it takes place many years later. She just wants to settle down and start a coffee shop. But the city she wants to start the coffee shop in has never heard of coffee, so there's some conflict there. She's trying to start this business in a bustling city that has no market for what she's trying to sell. I quite enjoyed this book. I cracked it open at 9 p.m. one night where I had nothing to do the next day, made a cup of coffee, and read it all in one night. 5-star experience, 4-star book. So for that, I'm going to put it in the very good would recommend category. Okay, finally, the last 2 books. We have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This is book 7, the end to such an incredible series. This is one of my favorite book series of all time. This one's going to be, it's S tier. It just is. It made me believe in love and life again. I did laugh and I did cry. Yeah, this book destroyed me in the best way possible. Just because it was such a good ending to an incredible series. It is the final fight between good and evil, and you have to find out who wins, of course. If you have not read that series, just read it. What are we doing? It's Harry Potter. Just read the books. Just read them. You know you want to. Even if you're telling yourself you don't want to, you know deep down inside, you kind of want to know what the hype's about. You kind of want to know. Just read them. Just get over yourself and read them. Last but not least, we have Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. This book is translated from the Japanese. It is about a woman who believes she's going to get married to the man she is dating until she finds out he's cheating on her. She leaves him, and the only place she can go is to live with her uncle in the bookshop that he runs. She rediscovers a love for literature. It's a feel-good book. It's a nice, slow, but short read. I remember really liking this. It's been a while since I read it. If you really like books, then it would be very good and I'd recommend it. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to put it in the not too shabby. Hi, it's editing Desi here. I kind of look a mess right now, but I realized I somehow lost all of the footage where I talked about Lord of the Flies, which is one of my top 5 books of all time. I had to read this book in high school and I thought it was horrible. I gave it 1 star, but then I reread it this past year for a class almost 10 years later and it was an immediate 5-star, one of the best books I've ever read. This book is about children who get stranded on an island without adults and the chaos that ensues. Reading this book as a 14-year-old, I thought that it was just misconstruing what childhood is like entirely, but reading it as an adult, I realized that this book is for adults. The prose is excellent and beautiful, and kind of like Frankenstein, it examines what human depravity looks like at its core. It's an incredible read. I feel like everyone should read this at least once in their life. So this is going straight into the top tier. I laughed, I cried. Well, actually I didn't laugh. I probably cried. but it did make me believe in life and love again. Okay, that is the last book out of all of the books I've read in the past year and a half. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you want an in-depth review of some of the romance novels I talked about, I have a video coming out about summer romances very soon. I also read the Percy Jackson books for my most previous video, so you can go ahead and watch that. Let me know what you guys thought of this tier ranking in the comments. This was fun to do. Hopefully you guys found a new read from it. If I poorly rated one of your favorite books, let me know in the comments and try to convince me to read it. I would be happy to give it another try. Sometimes I read books for the first time and hate them, and then I end up loving them, like Lord of the Flies. So let me know. I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts, and I will see you in another video. If you like this, please subscribe. Okay, bye.